How's it going, people? Welcome back to AFTV and welcome back to Box to Box. We've got another game this weekend. The games keep on rolling. International break is now over, although we've got another one coming on the horizon. A big game for both clubs. Both clubs haven't really started the season as well as I think we would have hoped to. Burnley versus Arsenal, away for us Arsenal boys. I've got Joe here from Turfcast. How's it going, Joe?
Yeah, good. Thanks, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'll be better after the 90 minutes tomorrow if we get a win.
Yeah.
I'm a bit nervous, Joe. How are you feeling about the game?
I won't say I'm nervous. To be honest, I'm looking forward to it. I always like playing, the traditional Big Six. It's always good. It's something that, I said on my own podcast this week. When I was growing up, I'm 33 now. So when I was growing up, Burnley were in what is now League One for the majority of my childhood. Then they got promoted to what is now the Championship when I was about 12. And even then, I think we played Arsenal in a cup in like the mid 2000s, and I remember it's like, Arsenal are at the Turf, it's Arsenal, and we got Man United one year. It's like, oh my god. Whereas now it's just like we play you twice a year, sometimes even 3-4 if we get you in cups like we seem to do with City every year. But I still look forward to it. I still enjoy playing the traditional Big Six. It's always good. It's good to test yourself. Sort of like against I'm going to say the better sides, but I guess we started the season you've had. That might not fit into that category, but even then, like traditionally, you've still got some quality players, obviously, especially Aubameyang. So I like playing him. There's no real pressure on us, and it's a chance for a memorable victory.
Well, you said you're 33. I'm 33 too, and a question I want to ask is because you mentioned football growing up for you, Burnley, they was in League One. It's quite the opposite for me. Not that Arsenal are in League One right now, but yeah, I think we're closer to there than the Champions League right now, but. What's your thoughts on football? Because the way I look at it, I enjoyed football a lot more growing up, but maybe that's in line with Arsenal winning.
Go on. Sorry, I'm same.
Okay.
I don't get me wrong. The best time to be a Burnley fan is now. I was talking about this week on our podcast. The best time in my lifetime to be a Burnley fan is the last 5-6 years. That's not even up for a debate. It's a fact. The best time in our history was in the 60s. That's when we won the league and were pretty much one of the best teams in the country. I think alongside Tottenham, actually, for 3-4 years.
So you were better than them. You were better.
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, we can all agree on that. But it was just even me watching the Premier League on telly back then. Watching Burnley is probably better now because we're playing Arsenal, United, Liverpool, Chelsea, City. Whereas back then we were playing Luton, Preston, and teams like that. That was a little dig at Preston, I'll be honest.
Why not?
But it's the way football's changed now. And it's going to bring me on nicely to this point that seems to be in the media everywhere at the minute that Burnley are just a team of thugs. Whereas the stats just prove otherwise. No red card in 97 Premier League games it is now. But you can't challenge these days. You can't do. It seems like rolling around on the floor is acceptable, but a strong challenge isn't. And I don't particularly like the way that football is going because of that. Don't get me wrong. I'll probably still have a season ticket this time in 20 years and just sit there in the stand whinging about it rather than doing anything about it. But it's like this World Cup every 2 years thing. That's going to ruin the game. It's just more about money these days than it is about the fan. And Jesus Christ, I sound old saying that because it's always the older generation saying that, isn't it? But again, it's probably like a nostalgic thing as well. I think you look back on it and that's when you're growing up, it's your formative years, isn't it? It's when you first start having a hobby and an interest in something. I used to watch Thierry-Henry and absolutely love him. Obviously, shirts in the background there, it was class.
Yeah.
I probably would have liked Shearer if it wasn't for his Blackburn connections. But, I used to enjoy watching Man United growing up as well. And you look back now and even though City probably maybe are better than, some teams in the past, you don't really feel that connection with them because it's not your formative years, I think. And it's probably a bit more rivalry involved now as well because, you're older and City fans, for example. So, I think I preferred it when I was younger, definitely. But these are easily the best years to be a Burnley fan. So swings and roundabouts, I guess.
100%. Interesting. Now, I always like to get, the thoughts from opposition fans as well. And like we said about you growing up and Burnley not being where they are now. But I saw a little glint in your eye speaking growing up with football and playing Arsenal, playing Man United and how big those games were in comparison.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get it completely. Let's move more on to this season, Joe. Burnley haven't exactly started well. What is it, 1 point in the first 4?
Yeah.
We haven't started well either, mate. So we got 3 points in the first 4. But what is it about Burnley this season? Is it Are you confident with Sean Dyche? Obviously, new contract. I've looked at your league positions over the last 5 years, and it's very up and down in a sense. It's 17th last year, 10th the year before that, 15th, 7th, and then 16th. So it's very up and down over the last 5 years. How do you see this season going?
Well, our seasons tend to sort of like, if we start well, we'll finish in the top half. If we don't start well, it tends to be a bit of a battle. The 2 seasons there where you mentioned 7th, we beat Chelsea on the opening day, and they were the champions at the time. All right, they had 2 men sent off, but they deserved to have 2 men sent off. So it is what it is. And then we just sort of like went from there, and we had the momentum. And it was the same when we finished 10th, I think. Yeah, same when we finished 10th. We started well that season, and we just had momentum. Whereas the seasons where we haven't, we're finishing 17th and 15th and 16th. We've started off poorly, and then everyone's like, oh, look, Burnley are in trouble. Maybe this is a year that they go down. But then we'll put a run together and end up staying up. I'm confident it'll probably be the similar sort of vibe this season, that we will stay up. Fingers crossed anyway, because every time it happens, you do feel a little bit more worried, like, oh, maybe this is a year that it finally catches up with them. You can't have a bad start every single year and expect to stay up. But you've hit the nail on the head there. Sean Dyche, new contract. If he's at the club, I think we stay up. It's that simple. It will keep us up, in my opinion. And we've had a quality this transfer window as well. For the first time since 2017, we've actually signed a player who's going to play in the first team in Maxwell Cornet, hopefully. It'll probably take a few weeks, maybe even a month to get in Dyche's plans. It's just the way Dyche is a bit stubborn. But he is bought for the first team, whereas the last time we bought somebody for the first team was 2017 when we bought Chris Wood off Leeds. So it's, we've not really had the investment as well. And I think we have kind of stagnated a little bit and moved backwards a little bit because of the lack of investment. But new owners, new investment. I think the squad's better than it was last season. And we've still got the manager, because we've kept all the players. We've kept Tarky, we've kept Pope, we kept Woody, and we kept Dwight. They're our main four, in my opinion. Some people have probably said Ben Mee as well, but Tarky for me. And then we've added quality. So I think we are in a better position than last season. We just need to start turning the performances into results, because the performances haven't been horrendous. Like, we've taken the lead in 3 games so far this season. We've got 1 point. But the worrying aspect of it, is 2 years ago, if Burnley would take the lead, they win the game. You could put your mortgage on it. They're going to win the game. Whereas this season, they're looking like they're getting the lead. And then I think teams have realised that we are a bit lightweight in midfield. So first game of the season, we went 1-0 up against Brighton. Potter changed it, brought Lallana on, put 3 in the middle, overran us in midfield. We lost the game. Benitez did it against Everton. We took the lead, brought Gomez on, 3 in the middle, overran us in midfield, lost it. Leeds was different. That was our fault. We sat back a little bit and invited the pressure. They got a lucky goal, to be fair. Liverpool, it's Liverpool. We played well for 60 minutes. They just turned it on and then just said, right, enough of this. We're gonna have to turn it on and beat these now. So there's been patches of decent, performances. We just need to get back to Burnley and get back to basics and learn how to hold on to a lead again.
So would I be right in saying there's not too much to worry about so far? You've seen this type of start to a season before. Yeah,
at the minute, I'm in that frame of mind at the minute. I do think we'll be right. Last season, I think we got us first win sort of like late October against Palace. And we had 1 point from our opening 5-6 games. We were losing at home to teams like Southampton. Admittedly, we've lost at home to Brighton this season, who were, Brighton fans will probably disagree, but will fall in a similar category. Having said that, they're doing well so far this season. So, they might end up finishing at 10th like Burnley did a couple of seasons ago. But other than that, we've played some decent sides. The Leeds one, okay, I'm probably going off last season with Leeds. I think they'll struggle a bit this season, but ultimately okay. We were the better side for pretty much 80 minutes in that game. Just they got a deflected goal. It fell to Bamford 3-4 yards out, and he couldn't really miss. And obviously Liverpool and Everton, I think Liverpool over there, thereabouts. Everton will be knocking on door at top 7, I think. So, we've played some decent sides. But yeah, I am worried in the sense that for some reason we can't hold on to a lead anymore. I don't know where that's come from. But yeah, because I'm used to these kind of starts, I'm kind of thinking, here we go again. We'll have to put a run on again now and get out of it. But fingers crossed we don't leave it too late, because the longer you leave it, the more likely you are to go down.
Yeah, and I actually hold Sean Dyche highly in terms of a manager in this league. I think he doesn't get the credit he deserves for what he's done at Burnley. I agree. Like you said about investment, even this summer, for example, you've praised the investment and the signing of Cornet, but in reality, that investment in this league for other teams hasn't been enough to keep them in the league before. So I think Sean Dyche has been the decisive factor in how long 100%. You've been in the top flight? It's been 5.
I think this is our sixth season or fifth. I think it's our sixth. We were up and down for a little bit at first. Obviously promoted in 2009, went down and stayed down for like 4 or 5 years at end. But then we got Dyche, came up, went down, came up, stayed up. So we showed loyalty to him. He showed loyalty to us. It's a nice little relationship we've got going. He pretty much has full control of the football club to a certain degree. He will pick players and stuff like that, whereas you see other clubs, players are bought for them and things like that. He's the highest paid earner at the club, even more so now that he was already on 75 grand a week. He was the highest earner, more than any player. I think he's on about 110 now a week. You know, it doesn't sound like a lot, but for a club like Burnley, that is big money. That is really big money. And I think like the highest paid players are about 55. So he's like so far ahead of all the players. So yeah, I'm happy he's still here, and I think he's a good manager. But yeah, I think any other manager, even your Bielsa's that people seem to hold in like really high regard because of the way that they play, any other manager at Burnley Football Club would have got relegated with the investment and the players, and that's not a dig at the players because we have some good players. But when you look at the creative side of our squad, it's pretty much non-existent apart from Dwight McNeil. Obviously, Cornet might change that. But yeah, I think any other manager gets relegated with the investment and squad. So I agree that Sean is the factor that keeps us up.
100%. I think he deserves a lot more credit than he gets. Joel, let's look at Arsenal a bit more. And I always ask the opposition fan their thoughts on my club and where we are right now. Obviously, outside looking in, to be honest, inside as well, it's terrible times. It's a decline that started a long time ago, and that decline sped up over the last couple of years from Europa League to top 8 to not even in Europe anymore. I just want to get your general perspective on where Arsenal are and why you think we're here.
I don't know why you think you're there, why you are where you are, if I'm being honest with you. I'm not the manager's biggest fan. I know it's a big debate between Arsenal fans and you might be the Arteta in camp. But I think if you're in a position that Arsenal are in where you are going backwards, which you have done, as you've said, you've gone backwards to a certain degree quite quickly. It's happened. You can see where it's happened, like Champions League, Europa League, as you say, they're not even in Europe. It's happened kind of slowly, but for a club of Arsenal's stature, it's happened quite fast as well at the same time. Like I wouldn't imagine City being in this position in the next 8 years. Even when United fell backwards, they didn't really. I think they had one season out of Europe, to be fair, but you kind of always felt they were always going to come back. At the minute, I don't know how Arsenal are going to come back to what they were. Yeah. Again, like I said, I'm not the manager's biggest fan. I feel like when you are going backwards, you need someone who's going to grab the situation by the scruff of the neck and just get on with it. Whereas I feel like there's all this process talk at the minute at Arsenal, and I don't think that is the right sort of mentality to have when you are slowly falling down the league and slowly falling down in stature. I think it's more of a situation where you've got to like, right, we need to stop this rot and we need to stop it now. It can't be like, oh, just be patient. It can't be that. I feel like you should get somebody else in who, who's going to, like I said, grab the situation by the neck and hopefully try to fight you back up the league. But I don't know. It feels like from Arsenal fans always seem to be falling out with each other on Twitter because of this Arteta thing. It's always, are you Arteta? It's like you can't just be an Arsenal fan. You're an Arsenal fan and you're either Arteta in or Arteta out. Yeah. United fans are similar to a certain extent, but I think they've all quietened down a little bit now. But Ollie's the same. I don't like these inexperienced managers being at the big clubs. Yeah. It seems to be a new thing that these bigger clubs sort of like do these days. I'm not really sure why. Chelsea tried it. It didn't work. Arsenal are trying it. In my opinion, it's not worked and it's not going to work. I still feel Man United fans might argue with me because United have started coming back a bit, but I feel that's because of the investment. I don't necessarily feel that's because of Ollie. I feel like if United had a good manager, like Tuchel at Chelsea, look at the difference between Lampard and Tuchel at Chelsea. Yeah. It's insane. They've gone from absolute has-beens to the best team in Europe or one of the best teams in Europe, and that's just from the manager. So I think a manager's a big thing, and I think Arsenal could do with a far better manager. But it's weird because you're all saying trust the process and stuff. And if he's still there in 5 years, I actually think he will be decent and he'll have quite a lot of experience. But you would have had 5 years of absolute nothing.
Exactly.
So it's whether you want to do that. But yeah, I feel like a manager would be a good change. But I don't know why you've fallen so far down. Yeah. Again, it might be better off sort of like you looking at that. I'm not sure if the investment's been poor, if it's just the manager or what. I know there's a lot of talk about the Emirates, and then after that you didn't really buy many players for a few years or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting to see how you are going to come back, and I think ultimately, eventually, you will. for the immediate future, I can't see Arsenal fighting for a title within the next 5 to 10 years, if I'm honest.
No, I agree, and I agree with everything you said regarding Arteta. I don't think he's good enough. He hasn't got the experience, and what you said at the end about in 5 years, and that's why I say Arteta might be the right man, but it's the wrong time to bring in a manager with so little experience. And you also hit the nail on the head when you said it's a bit cheeky to talk about processes and projects when we're so far in the mud now. Let's say, it's come so far now, and we was told to believe in a self-sustaining system. We was told to believe that selling our top players to pay off the stadium was the efficient thing to do, the right thing to do. And we were patient with that. We listened, and 10, 15 years later, that is essentially why, like you mentioned on Twitter and in general, Arsenal fans are at loggerheads with each other. I think the Wenger fallout was massive to the division within the fan base. I think we should have all agreed by the end that it was his time to go. He dropped out of top 4 to top 6, but there was still a lot of fans that were holding on to his legacy and holding on to what he had done for the club, albeit 10, 12, 13 years ago at that time. I think we've got an owner that's not proactive. We've got an owner that doesn't really know much about football, or he calls it soccer. He might not even call it soccer. I'm not even sure if he knows what the sport is. He just owns our company, basically. It's just direction off the pitch, mate. I wouldn't put it on Arteta. I will back up and say Arteta is not the right man right now, but I wouldn't put this on Arteta. It goes way above Arteta. With Antonio Conte available this summer, Klopp was available when Wenger was on that decline. We missed out on a Klopp. In all honesty, I feel like we're going to miss out on a Conte now too, and United will probably get him, and they'll be the next team to win the league with a top elite manager. That's just how I see the next couple of years playing out, but I agree.
Yeah, it's interesting that, because you mentioned the Wenger fallout. I forgot about that. Even then, the fans were at loggerheads, and I agree. I think I love Arsene Wenger. What he didn't just do well for Arsenal. He did well for the Premier League and did well for the sport, and it were good to watch. This is again going back to the opening question, where football back then, obviously that's when you were growing up and Arsenal were class. But even me watching Arsenal back then, I remember you'd go in like a full season undefeated and things like that. And I remember watching the first game you lost against United, and I was like, nah, Wenger won't lose this match. Wenger don't lose matches. Wenger don't lose matches. He was just growing up like that, watching him, and he was class. But yeah, I do think I agree with you. You held on to him too long because of how good he was in the past. So yeah, it's an interesting point. It's been going on for so long, hasn't it?
So long, mate. I don't see an end in sight. It's a roundabout we're in at the moment, and we just keep on coming full circle back to square one. So it's difficult times. But let's get into the game, Joe. And looking at the fixtures last year, I remember them clearly. I don't even need to do research. 1-1 with Xhaka giving it away in the 6-yard box for Wood to tap in, and a 1-0 loss at the Emirates with Xhaka getting sent off.
Yeah, and I, for one, I'm gutted that Xhaka is suspended.
I was going to ask you about that. What's your thoughts on Granit Xhaka? Because he's a player that divides opinion as well.
I mean, I don't watch him week in, week out, so Arsenal fans will know more. Do I think he'd get in the Burnley side? No, I wouldn't have him at Burnley. Well, I'd have him at Burnley, but I wouldn't have him. I wouldn't replace Ben Mee or Tarky for him. He's too erratic. He makes too many mistakes. And with the way that we play, we defend a lot. And if he's asked to defend more, he's going to make more mistakes because he's going to become more erratic and there's going to be more pressure on him. Just some of the things that he's done in the past, like grabbing Ashley Westwood by the throat last season. It's just why? There was no situation.
Westwood actually broke up the situation. And as he broke it up, Xhaka fell over, and Xhaka then got up and grabbed Westwood. And I thought to myself, "What are you doing, mate?"
I just don't get him. I honestly don't get him. Don't get me wrong. I've watched games where I'm like, "Hey, this Granit Xhaka's decent. Where's this guy?" But I don't watch you week in, week out. Most of the times when I watch you, he's either poor or gets sent off or does a stupid mistake that'll concede a goal. As a defender, most of your mistakes do. But yeah, I wouldn't have him at Burnley, if I'm honest.
Yeah, you confident about tomorrow? You're at the game, Joe, right?
Yeah. I've recently moved into this house. I say recently, last December, but I lived in my old house since I was 8 years old, and you could see the turf from one of the back windows. And I used to always just say, yeah, well, I only live a 5-minute walk, so I'll walk down, but I can't anymore. I have to drive down. But I'm Burnley born and bred, Burnley lad.
Season ticket holder, all of that.
Season ticket holder, yeah. I was saying to you off air, and I've got a little boy now, so I don't get on as many games as away games as I'd like to. But as soon as he hits 5, 6, and his mum's like, "Oh, go on then," I'm going to take him on every single away game anyway. But confident, probably not. I'm predicting a 1-1 draw for me. I'm confident in the way that the game's going to pan out as well. We'll start well, we'll play well. We'll be the better side in the first half. You'll rally in the last 5 minutes, but to no avail. We'll come out second half. Better side again. Burnley will be the better side. We'll score around the 50th minute, 55th minute. It'll be a header, either a cross or a set piece. You'll think, oh God, we need to kick on here. Arteta will change it up. He'll put 3 in the middle, and then you'll overrun us in midfield, and then you'll get a draw. I think it'll be 1-1. I think hopefully we're going to start learning those lessons, and if we do get the goal, carry on attacking. Just put someone else. Sean, be proactive. See, you were saying like your owners aren't reactive and stuff, or proactive. I think you said. But with Sean, I love Sean to bits, but there is a bit of a debate at the minute that he isn't. His subs are poor, and I'd agree with that. His subs are very poor. His in-game management is poor. Admittedly, we don't have as much strength in depth as other sides does. Pretty much anyone does, because that first 11 is a decent first 11 for me in the Premier League. But pretty much anyone after that, and it's hold on, we're struggling here. So he doesn't really have as many substitutions to call on, but his in-game management needs to be better. When we go 1-0 up tomorrow, if we go 1-0 up tomorrow, he needs to either get on that touchline and start barking the orders and right, do not sit back, keep going. If you sit back, you're inviting the pressure like you've done for the past 3 games. Or if you are going to sit back, get that third man on midfield before Arteta does. Or react at least to the very minimum to Arteta making the sub if he makes that sub. Because against Everton on Monday, Benitez made the change, then they scored the goal. We sat back. Sean didn't make a decision, and within 6 minutes they'd scored 3 goals, and it was 3-1. It was game over. If he puts that third man on the midfield straight after the first goal, them 2 goals, in my opinion, don't go in. So I'd like him to be proactive, but let's crawl before we can walk, and at least start being reactive. Sean, if you're listening.
There we go, Joe. We didn't only get a prediction from you; we got a timeline as well. So around the 50th tomorrow, people, we're going to be conceding. But I know what you mean, and when you predicted 1-1, it resonated with me because I've got a couple of podcasts on AFTV and one Forever Arsenal podcast on AFTV VIP. I used my head for the prediction and I went with a 1-1, and it's more often head over heart for me. But when I did the warm up with James and Cecil, I went with my heart and I said 2-1. But Joe, I'm going to go back with my head when I'm speaking with you.
Yeah, fair enough. It's like, I always try and use my head over my heart because the heart is very rarely right, and the head probably is not right very often, but it's right more than the heart. And I do sometimes look at it and see you in that first opening game against Brentford, and then my heart starts thinking, oh, well, Burnley can do that to them. If Brentford can do it, they struggled on set pieces and crosses. They're Burnley's strength. And then my heart starts thinking, oh, maybe a 2-0, maybe a 2-1. And I'm like, no, 1-1. It'll be 1-1.
1-1. And before we wrap up as well, I want to ask a key battle. For me, I'm looking at Ben White and Gabriel against Chris Wood. Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to say. Ben White against Chris Wood. He struggled against Brentford. I liked him at Brighton. I don't even think he was the best centre-back at Brighton, though, but I can understand why you bought him because I do think eventually he's going to be class. I think he's another one where you've got to be patient with him. It's like you've spent 50 million quid to be patient with somebody. It's just balmy as a Burnley fan. Like, you spend 50 million quid, you're expecting the best player in the world as a Burnley fan. But Chris Wood against Ben White, and then sort of like as a sub-battle to that, sort of like our Dwight McNeil against your fullbacks, because obviously Dwight McNeil, he's going to be supplying Woody with the balls in. And having said that, Goodmanson got the assist on Monday against Everton. So I think a lot of people do focus on Dwight McNeil, and a lot of teams do focus on Dwight McNeil because 99% of our creative flair comes from Dwight McNeil. And then every now and then they forget about Goodmanson. Sorry, go on.
What side will McNeil start on?
Left, I presume. Yeah, it'll be left.
It'll
be left. They sometimes switch. Not as much as I'd like. I think Goodmanson's a bit one-footed, but they sometimes switch. I'm thinking when Cornet starts playing, you'll have Corney on the left and Dwight on the right, and then they will switch quite regularly, and then that will give us quite some decent like attacking sort of like threat down the wings, and you've got Woody banging him in, hopefully in the middle. But yeah, Dwight McNeil against whichever fullback will be playing, and then Woody against Ben White, because that's if we score a goal, that chances are that's where it's going to come from. It's going to come from a Dwight cross or a Dwight free kick and a Chris Wood header. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. Prediction and the key battle. We are in agreement, Joe. Joe, thank you for coming on, people. I hope you guys have enjoyed this box to box. I need you to do a couple things. I need you to hit the like button if you enjoyed it, and I need you to go into the description below. Joe's channel, Turfcast, is there. There's a link. Make sure you guys subscribe to that, because there's going to be more content coming out this season, and definitely I'll be doing something with Joe on my channel at some point this season, so look out for that. Joe, where else can they find you? Is Turfcast on YouTube and...
Turfcast is on YouTube. It is a podcast as well. So if you go onto your favourite podcast app and type us in, you can find us. And it is also a Facebook page, a Twitter page, an Instagram page, and even a TikTok page. These days, I'm down with the kids.
Keeping up with the young ones, yeah?
Yeah, I'm keeping up with the young ones, yeah. I had a few decent videos on there, but I don't know. It is just me at Turfcast. Like, there is just me that does everything. So TikTok tends to like get a new video once every month or something. But I've had some decent ones on there. I've had quite a good few views. I've had like a 1.3 million video, so yeah, I'll take that. Yeah,
definitely, man. Well done for everything so far, and I wish you, the many best wishes in the future. So, like I said, we'll definitely do something together on my channel and more stuff on your channel too. People, love for the love. We'll be back again real soon. Let's hope we get the win against Burnley tomorrow. Fingers crossed.